What if Modulo Yuji was reborn in episode 1? 68 years after the day he watched Sukuna take everything from him, Modulo Yuji opened his eyes again. He was only 15. The same Sukuna finger sitting in a box in his high school, waiting for him to make the same choice he made the first time. Except this time, he remembers all of it. Every fight, every funeral, every name he will have to watch die on a schedule only he knows. The curse was already beating the hell out of Megumi when Modulo Yuji got there. Megumi's Shikigami's were gone and the curse was turning toward him for the kill. At that point, the only option left for Modulo Yuji was the finger in his hand, since he had no way of saving Megumi at the time. 83 years of instinct folded into a 15-year-old that has never done this before and somehow already knows exactly how it ends. And for 1/2 second, he doesn't move. Modulo Yuji remembered all the harsh times. Sukuna waking up inside him for the first time, the heart ripped out of his own chest by his own hand, the trial, the execution clock starting the moment Gojo finds out what he's done. Every year after this one spent paying interest on a debt he's about to take out again, on purpose, with his eyes open. He could have let the curse finish what it started. Walk away clean. No Sukuna, no nothing. Nobody in this hallway would ever know there was a version of this moment where he chose differently. But his friends probably wouldn't have survived it, and he couldn't afford to watch that happen. It was never complicated. He's run it 1,000 times across 68 years and it always lands in the same place. Help people. Even when it costs you everything. His grandfather's words. Except this time, he already knows exactly what the cost is before he agrees to pay it. And this is where the timeline splits. In the original story, Sukuna takes over the moment Yuji eats the finger. The King of Curses surfaces, celebrates and prepares to burn everything to the ground. That's not what happens this time. The cursed energy floods in, but Modulo Yuji has decades of learning exactly where Sukuna keeps his hands on the wheel. He knows the precise moment Sukuna expects to break through. He's been there. He remembers what it felt like the first time. So this time, he was waiting for it. Sukuna surfaces for exactly 3 seconds. Enough time to help Modulo Yuji kill the cursed spirits. Not enough time to do anything else. First second, Sukuna's cursed energy explodes outward and the curse never sees it coming. 2 seconds, the power pulls back in, clean and controlled. 3 seconds, Modulo Yuji shuts the door on Sukuna completely. The King of Curses doesn't even get to say a word, and that is the thing. In the original timeline, the moment Yuji eats the finger, Sukuna takes over even if it is for a brief moment. None of that happens this time, because Modulo Yuji already knew it was coming, and he shuts it down before Sukuna could even open his mouth. Megumi is still on the ground staring. Not because of the curse was gone. He was staring because of the way Yuji is standing there. Completely calm, completely in control. The kid literally ate Sukuna's finger and immediately suppressed the most powerful being in human history like it was just something he needed to take care of quickly. You suppressed him, Megumi says. He can barely get the words out. Yuji looks at the space where the curse used to be. He's still in there. He's just not in charge. Megumi doesn't move, because that is not supposed to be possible. Vessels don't get to negotiate with Sukuna. Vessels don't get to decide when he comes out and when he doesn't. Meanwhile, this kid was standing here talking about it like it is nothing. Gojo shows up 11 seconds later. He doesn't ask if Yuji is okay. He doesn't ask about the curse. He just looks at Yuji, really looks at him, and goes quiet for 3 full seconds. For a man who always has something to say, 3 seconds of silence is basically a lifetime. Interesting, is all he says. From where Gojo is standing, a 15-year-old just ate a special grade cursed object, killed the curse, and is standing here having a normal conversation like none of that should be remarkable. And that told Gojo everything he needed to know about this kid. He understood what he just witnessed was something that would change the Jujutsu world forever. You're coming with me, Gojo says, and Modulo Yuji, who already knew that was coming, nodded once. What happened next was between Yuji and Sukuna. The inner domain isn't a place Yuji built. It is a place that exists because Sukuna exists inside him. A shared space between two souls occupying the same body. In the original timeline, Sukuna owned it, and Yuji was the guest. That is not what Sukuna finds this time. He finds Modulo Yuji already sitting there, waiting, completely unbothered. Sukuna stops. For the first time in his lifetime, Sukuna felt inferior. He recovers fast. Pride doesn't let him stay surprised for long. What are you? Modulo Yuji looks at him for a long time. You already know, he says. You felt it the second I shut the door on you. Sukuna's expression doesn't change. I've lived this before. 83 years. I watched you take everything. I watched everyone I loved die in front of my eyes and I couldn't do anything about it. And then I woke up here. He looks at his own hands and then back at Sukuna. And now I can change it all. Sukuna takes one step forward, then another. You think knowing how it ends makes you dangerous? Sukuna says. His voice is quiet now, which is worse than when it is loud. You lost, Modulo Yuji says. Simple, with no emphasis. And that, more than control, more than the suppression, more than anything else is what's actually made Sukuna snap. Sukuna moves, not the way he moves in a fight, calculated and deliberate. No. This is different. What changes is heavier than cursed energy. It is the weight of Sukuna's soul bearing down on the space between them. 1,000 years of absolute dominance compressed into one moment of forward motion. Modulo Yuji doesn't move because he already knows exactly how this ends too. Sukuna stops 2 feet away, and Modulo Yuji looks at him. You want to know how you lost? He says. Sukuna says nothing. You got exactly what you wanted. Modulo Yuji says. Then you lost it all just like that. The silence that follows is the kind that only exists between two people when one of them has just said something true that the other cannot refute. Sukuna has lived 1,000 years. He has never once been in a room where the other person already knew his ending. Stay in your lane, Modulo Yuji says again. Young Yuji opens his eyes back again. Tokyo is already visible through the window. Gojo is in the front seat, not looking at him. You didn't switch, Gojo says. You didn't ask me to, Yuji says. Gojo glances at him in the rearview mirror, just for a second. In the original timeline, I would have. The air in the car changes. In 68 years of memory, Modulo Yuji had planned for every version of this conversation. He didn't plan for Gojo to be already ahead of it. Jujutsu High looks exactly the way he remembers it. That is the hardest part. He meets Nobara, then Naname on a Thursday, the man who will one day walk toward his own death in Shibuya. Yuji couldn't say nothing to him, because there's nothing you can say to someone whose last words you've already memorized. He watches Gojo being silly every time he meets him, but Gojo never stopped watching him back. He never asked the question directly. He didn't have to, he just observed. Gojo had spent his entire life being the person who understood things before he was supposed to. He recognized it in someone else immediately. He never said a word about it. And that, more than anything, was what kept Modulo Yuji up at night. And then there is Junpei. Modulo Yuji knows exactly what happens to him. He knows the stairwell, knows the date, knows the exact moment Mahito appears. He knows all of it. He can save him. He has the timing, the knowledge. He knows where Mahito will be before Mahito decides to be there. But Junpei's death is the moment that breaks Yuji Itadori open permanently. The moment he understands that some things in this world cannot be reasoned with or saved or forgiven. Remove that moment and Yuji becomes someone different. Someone Modulo Yuji doesn't know. The night before it happens, Sukuna surfaces in the innate domain and finds Modulo Yuji sitting there in silence. Sukuna looks at him for a long moment, then laughs. Not his usual laugh. It was something that sounds almost like understanding. The next day, in a stairwell at Satozakura High, Junpei Yoshino dies the same way he died the first time, and Modulo Yuji swallowed all that pain and decided to not do anything about it. Think of time like a line of dominoes. Each one falls because the one before it fell. Remove one from the middle and the rest don't fall the same way. Some fall too early, some never fall at all. Junpei is one of those dominoes. His death is the reason Yuji Itadori never stops fighting, the reason he never learns to look away, the reason he becomes eventually the only person in the world capable of ending Sukuna for good. Pull Junpei out of that line and the dominoes that follow don't land the same way. The person who defeats Sukuna doesn't become that person. The future Modulo Yuji has a complete map for stops existing. Saving Junpei doesn't just change Junpei's story. It changes everything that Junpei's death was holding up. And that is when Sukuna's laugh finally made sense. He was laughing because he understood something that Modulo Yuji had not said out loud to anyone. Sukuna is an extremely seasoned sorcerer after all. He understands the sorcerer's inner suffering more than anyone. And right now, sharing a soul with Modulo Yuji, he can feel exactly what the incoming choice meant for Yuji. Time passed. Modulo Yuji does exactly what he came back to do. He lets the timeline unfold the way he remembers it, stepping in only where he can. Gojo though was never going to just watch. The six eyes read cursed energy down to the atom. Every flow, every signature precise enough to identify a person by it alone. And Modulo Yuji's control has no business existing. No waste, no fumbling. The efficiency of someone who spent decades learning exactly where every ounce belongs. A 15-year-old shouldn't move like that. So he finally asks, "You already lived this once, didn't you?" Yes. Why come back at all if you weren't going to change any of it? Because someone had to. That is the whole answer. Someone had to walk this road knowing exactly where it led, and be there for it, and carry it alone. And here's the part that is easy to miss. Modulo Yuji never got a choice about coming back. He opened his eyes and he was 15. That part was already decided before he had any say in it. But everything after that moment, that is the actual choice. He could have used what he knew to disappear, avoid every fight, just survive quietly and let the story happen without him in it. That was always available to him. But he didn't take it. Because the one thing 68 years of loss taught him is that watching people suffer from a distance doesn't hurt any less than watching them suffer up close. The pain was never optional. He was always going to feel it either way. So the only real choice left was what he did with the time in between. Hide and feel everything anyway, or show up and feel everything anyway, but make it count for someone. That is not a hard choice once you see it that way. It is just the only choice that means anything.